Welcome back. Well, now China and Hong Kong are threatening BlackRock's $23 billion deal to purchase several ports, two of which are near the Panama Canal. They are currently owned by Chinese firm CK Hutchison. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Xi Jinping originally wanted to use the canal as a bargaining chip when dealing with President Trump and is now furious about the sale of those ports and the president's efforts to take back the Panama Canal. Joining me now, live from the Panama Canal, is the Heritage Foundation president and author of Dawn's Early Light, Taking Back Washington to Save America. Kevin Roberts is with me. Kevin, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here. You traveled to the Panama Canal. Why, and what can you tell us about what's happening on the ground there?
Well, thanks for having me, Maria, and good morning from the canal. We traveled here for two reasons. The first is to help our friends in Panama understand that what President Trump and his administration are doing is correcting several decades of American neglect across the Western Hemisphere, but especially in Latin America, and particularly regarding the Panama Canal, going all the way back to President Carter's ridiculous decision in 1977. But the second reason is to learn from our great allies here, including President Molino, who's doing a very good job interdicting drug traffic and really assisting our administration in the United States, and to share that information, doing our independent analysis as we always do. It's just so much more helpful to be on the ground here and learn firsthand from the people who are making those decisions.
Kevin, President Trump told me the other day when I interviewed him in the exclusive in the Oval Office that all the signs around the Panama Canal were all in Chinese, and that the Communist Party of China had totally dominated the canal, and he's not going to have it. He said that they took down the signs a week ago. What can you tell us about any hints of China dominating the canal that you could see?
Well, President Trump's exactly correct. In fact, one of the disappointments we have here is the inability of some of the policymakers in Panama to understand how significant a threat China is to them, to the canal, across Latin America. I think one of the great legacies already, Maria, of President Trump's second term is his emphasis on getting China out of this region. And ultimately, as we have told our friends here in Panama, we're also in Paraguay and Argentina, doing business with China is a non-starter if you want to be a friend of the United States. So one of the main reasons that we're here is to emphasize that message from the administration. We're obviously independent of the Trump administration, but we also agree with them 100% that that's the right policy for the everyday American.
Well, I mean, it's an important shipping lane and an important area in our country and the world, because you're seeing the two oceans meet. Right? The Atlantic and the Pacific are meeting right there where the Panama Canal is. And that's very important in terms of shipping. So what can you tell us about China's efforts?
Well, their effort is focused on two things. First of all, economic security for them and their own national security. And for the last 50 years, Maria, the United States simply has not played the geopolitical game here. So it's vital that with President Trump's leadership and the leadership of Secretary of State Rubio, that we dislodge the Chinese economic ability here. You go around Panama, to President Trump's point, of course, you see the Bank of China. You see a lot of Chinese companies doing business here. But that also is something that's got to be seen through the following lens. As you know well, that isn't just about economics and finance. That is about undermining American national security interests in our backyard. It is past time. It is long overdue that the United States dislodge the CCP from this region on our behalf, but also this is good for the local people here in Panama.
And I think it was Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, who told me that now the way it's set up, even when American ships have to go through the canal, they've got to go under a bridge that is operated by China, and it's basically trying to harass or intimidate our own ships, and we're the ones who gave the Panama Canal away. New Fox News polls show 39% of voters favor the U.S. taking over the Panama Canal. 57% said they oppose. Kevin, I'm sorry, what were you just going to say?
I was just going to remark about your comment regarding the bridge. I mean, it's the attitude here towards that is that they needed to get the infrastructure built. And our attitude, our point, and our response is it's precisely that kind of infrastructure project that threatens the security of this entire canal and, for that matter, American national security more broadly.
Of course. And can you tell us a little about the products that travel through that region, why this Panama Canal is so important?
Well, it's the most important shipping lane in our hemisphere and obviously, arguably, the most important in the world. And so every kind of product that we rely on, it could be finished goods, it could be sort of basic goods, also agricultural products, very important for us in the United States. And also from the standpoint of American businesses, it's vital for American economic security. But it's also really important to make this observation, Maria, is sort of the bottom line up front. If you think about the Chinese building that bridge, doing business here in Panama, and it's this. The United States has a lot of power. It has a lot of influence and leverage that it has not used over the last several decades. And really, since 9/11, our focus has been on other parts of the world. It is so appropriate and good that President Trump is placing the emphasis back on Panama, back on this region. I have no doubt, in spite of the near-term challenges, that with his leadership and how clearly Secretary Rubio sees this, that we're going to make some headway. One thing I can report is that I do think President Molino here, the president of Panama, is someone who's rational, who's a friend of the United States, who's been helpful in other areas. And I think that there's an opportunity here to reach a joint agreement on making sure that everyone's interest here, except China's, are absolutely primary.
So you think the president of Panama will go along with the U.S. taking back control of the Panama Canal? It sounds like that's what you just said.
No, I suspect that might be a bridge too far, pardon the pun, but I do think he's a very reasonable, rational guy. I'll leave it to him and President Trump to figure that out. But our point was, it's really important for our Panamanian friends to understand that this is a new season, and God bless President Trump for starting it.
I'll tell you, he is not missing a beat. President Trump is on it across the board. Thank you for going to Panama and the Panama Canal. A great conversation, Kevin. Thank you.